You are guaranteed to go broke unless you change just one thing today. And you soon find out why successful people thrive no matter what's happening out there. They thrive in all situations. Because have you noticed there are times in your life where it kind of doesn't seem like that? Where it seems like, for example, it's really good one moment, then all of a sudden it's taken away and it seems really bad. Can you relate? It comes down to understanding this one thing I'm about to share with you. But first, you got to firstly understand in terms of our cognitive biases, the way we see life is a reflection of us. This is why you've heard of quotes such as, when you change the way you look at life, the life you look at changes. Is referring to our cognitive psychology in terms of our biases that we have within. One of which is called loss aversion bias. This is something we refer to in the world of cognitive psychology as our brain's tendency to prefer going into this scarcity mode. That's why right now, if you check out the news, you'll notice everybody's panicking and they're going into this survival mode, holding on to everything, right? And we're seeing a lot of questionable behaviors right now from some people. This is why it's happening, because our brain's not designed to make us successful. Our brain is specifically designed to help us to survive. When you're operating from a scarcity mindset, survival mode, when times are good, you'll notice times are good. But when times are bad, you'll notice time become really bad. And that's because you're reacting to everything that's happening out there. But winners, no matter what's happening in their life, they thrive because they have taken full control of their life. Winners play to win. That's the mindset shift that they decided to have. Because everybody else out there, 99% of the people out there, they're playing not to lose. Do you see the difference? It sounds so subtle, but that mindset shift alone will allow you to thrive no matter what's happening out there. You see, one of our brain's tendency is also to literally ignore what we believe is not true. This is called confirmation bias. So when we believe times are tough, we're going to be filtering out all the other information. And we're only going to be focusing on the fact that times are tough. And when you believe times are tough, what are you going to be thinking? Is it going to be positive thoughts or negative thoughts? Probably negative, right? And does negative thoughts make you want to take action? Definitely not. So now you don't end up taking any action. And as a result, what do you get in life as a result of outcome? You don't get a lot, right? It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. This is why the moment, quote unquote, we hit this hard time, people all of a sudden start to say, oh my God, I told you so is a hard time. I told you it's a difficult time. Look, my business is going down. Look, I'm not earning as much as I'm meant to be earning right now. It's because you stopped trying. It's because you aren't showing up as a winner. You are. Most people out there, the moment there's a reason to panic, they start entering this panic mode and they start holding back their greatness. This is what will make you go broke. Being reactive to the circumstances, being reactive to whatever's happening out there. Winners have got this mentality, no matter what, I'm going to win. And I can win. And so can you. Every single one of us can, as long as we truly believe it deep inside. There's a story I just want to quickly wrap up on that will just finally make sense in regards to the point I'm trying to get across to you. There's a story of an elderly gentleman who had this big dream of one day being able to send his son to university and be able to pay that with cash. But they didn't come from a wealthy background, so he was kind of doubtful, but he decided to dream big. And he thought, you know what, I'm going to do whatever it takes. So he started a hot dog cart business and he decided to do whatever it takes. He woke up nice and early. He put all of his money into buying buns, hot dogs and onions and so forth. And he stood next to the subway really early in the morning. It's quite cold. And he would be selling these hot dogs because he has so much enthusiasm and passion, despite the fact that times felt quite tough. He just kept a really big smile and people began to actually do business with him and buy hot dogs. Before long, he sold out of his stock in the morning. And so he had more money than ever to actually put back into the business. So he decided to play to win. So he bought more stock. And now he was selling hot dogs even in the afternoon. And before long, he decided to open up the business for the evening time as well. And he bought a new hot dog cart stand that had LEDs everywhere, brightly lit every single night. So all of the club goers would see his business. things were looking really good. And after several years, he was able to finally afford to take his son to university. And he paid it in cash. But after several years, things took turn for the worse. One evening, his son checks out the news. The news says, recession's coming. Son begins to panic and thinks, oh my God, I got to tell dad, recession's coming. So he decides to literally drive home, knocks on his dad's door, and he's like, the son is literally panicking, right? Beads of sweat dripping down his forehead. And he says, Dad, recession's coming. You got to stop what you're doing. You got to change everything. Recession's coming. Warning, warning, warning. And he looks at his son and says, okay, son, I understand. I'm going to change everything. And in that moment, he goes from playing to win to now playing not to lose. Next morning, he wakes up with a different mindset. Scarcity mode. He decides, you know what? I'm not going to take out all of the stock. That's too risky. He ends up standing next to a Subway and he's not as smiley because he's quite scared. And as a result, not many people end up doing business with him. And in the afternoon, he decides, you know what? I'm not going to open up the hot dog cart business. I'm not going to sell any in the afternoon because that's too risky. And he decides to conserve all of his energy instead. And the evening comes and he thinks, you know what? I can't afford to pay for the batteries. That's too much money. Scarcity. And before long, because he keeps on repeating this behavioral traits of a scarcity mindset individual, playing not to lose, this business ends up going bust. And one day he sat on his couch. This elderly gentleman is feeling depressed, just wondering what's happened. And his son one day comes home and says, Dad, I told you recession's coming. I'm so glad I kept everything safe for you. The moral of this story is simple. How you decide to really operate from today. Whether or not you decide to play to win or play not to lose will define how you truly get through quote unquote tough times. Realize this. How do you want to remember this moment when you are looking back on your life? When you're 90 years old, sitting back on your rocking chair, do you want to be saying to yourself, I'm so glad I held back my greatness. I'm so glad I decided to give up. I'm so glad I decided to hold back my pure passion of wanting to do whatever it takes. Or do you want to say to yourself, I'm so proud of myself. What an example I was during those tough times to my children as well as my family members. Look how I showed up. Look how I was able to play to win and therefore win and make my family thrive. That's a decision for you to make. You can either be an example to millions or a warning to millions in terms of how you're operating your life. You are a winner deep inside, but you got to play to win. You got to operate like a winner. You got to do whatever it takes, no matter what's happening out there. Realize you got control of everything that's happening in here. So push on forwards today with that mindset that I am going to play to win. I am going to operate from abundance. And slowly but surely you notice big changes coming in your life.